So tonight I watched Dave Smith, Joe Rogan, and Douglas Murray do a debate podcast. And I knew that Douglas Murray is a snake. And I know Ben Shapiro is a snake. And I know Tim Pool is a snake. And I was just like, the idea that this is going to be a real conversation, not going to happen. What do I mean? That these woke right people, they don't have real conversations. They are always working an angle. They always have an angle that they're working. They always have an angle where having world peace is not the best idea. They will always have this idea that it's better to act now. If we don't have this war, then there's going to be this happen. And they always, and even Sam Harris, they always play these little games where they talk very freely about other people's belief systems, but they always exempt certain subjects. They always keep the eye focused away from what they want to have talked about. It's so obvious. So when Dave Smith was arguing with Douglas Murray, he tried to say like, you're not an expert. You've never been to the country that you're talking about. And he's like, and Joe Rogan and him are both like, well, you have to have actually gone to a country to be able to talk about it. And then he said that, oh, you're not an expert or something like that. And then he goes on and says, oh, you can talk about it without being an expert. But this is what he was trying to do. He was trying to say that hands off certain subjects. You're not allowed to talk about certain things. You shouldn't even be able to question them. Why are we questioning? Because when you look at Ben Shapiro, he always does this little thing where he's just like, I don't want to know about blah blah blah. I'm just asking questions. And he thinks that people really like to get into the weeds, into subjects he doesn't want to talk about, as long as people just say like, well, I don't know, I'm just asking questions. So Douglas Murray goes on to Joe Rogan and tries to do the browbeating game and tries to shame him and tries to put him in his place. And it's so funny. And it's like, oh, okay, so if I was Joe Rogan, I'd have to be sitting with this guy, and this guy would be telling me, why are you having people on? And why are you doing this? And who said that it's even a good idea to even question blah, 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 blah. And then you're just like, oh, you sure? You sure I shouldn't really do that? And then you can like envision in your mind, of course Tim Pool's like, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm going to just do whatever I have to do to be cool. All right, fine. And then you have Joe Rogan, where in order for his secret conversations to be exposed, he brings on Douglas Murray and Dave Smith. And he's able to have Dave Smith doing all the pressing back, because Joe didn't seem like he was blown away by Douglas Murray. It didn't feel like, you know, who's he more partial to? There was none of that. It was more, he made fun of Douglas Murray a little bit more. So I think this was a strategic way for Joe Rogan to go on subjects that he knows that are controversial for him. And Douglas Murray tries to apply that pressure. that you're not allowed to talk about certain things. And Dave Smith right away says, I'm an American. I'm allowed to have free speech. And that's where I'm saying that you'll never get an honest conversation, because instead of really just dropping the guard and cutting the bullshit, they just continue even harder with the propaganda. So you have to be super high a level game analysis, have game analyzer to understand what I'm saying. But if you just saw the overview, that here's a guy that tries to be all free speech and best principles and most moral people in the world and all this type of stuff, had to allow free speech, something that they hate. But because of COVID and trusting the experts, what Dave Smith was able to counter him with, just made Douglas Murray not a winner in this debate. No one is saying Douglas Murray was a winner. So by default, he's the loser, because Dave Smith is the underdog comedian guy, and Douglas Murray is the established author of propaganda, being a neocon. Thanks for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe. Thanks.